Dumela, Sawubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Upshin, Dubra Ota, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, bonsoir, greetings. Welcome to another episode of the Lott, Carey Wise Digital Couch. I am your host, Sister Doriel Inez Larrier, and I want to welcome you on behalf of the Lott, Carey team, which includes none other than our Executive Secretary Treasurer, the Reverend Emmett L. Dunn, the President, Reverend Dr. Gina M. Stewart, our first Vice President, Reverend Dr. Jesse T. Williams Jr., the President of WISE, which is Reverend Dr. Angelita Clifton, the first Vice President, Reverend Dr. Brenda McBarrow, and our second Vice President, Sister Lynette Richardson. I really do hope that you have your pen, your paper, your tablet, some writing device, and I hope that you, of course, have your mug. You must have some device because you are going to have to take a lot of great notes today. Here on the digital couch today, and of course it is Thursdays in Black, so many people, not just here, but around the world in the ecumenical space, are shouldering together to make sure that Thursdays in Black is a household word, because we want to make sure that gender-based violence is eradicated. So we thank you for joining us this evening. We also would love for you to share this information with people inside, outside, not just the Lott Carey community, but the faith-based community, because the conversations we're having tonight have to do with the impact of what we've been going through and how to move forward as a faith-based ministry. So please do share. Tonight we have on our couch an amazing person who, prior to the shutdown, has done some incredible work around virtual and in-person ministry work. And that's what we want to talk about tonight here on Lott Carey Wise Digital Couch. Please join me in welcoming Pastor Queenie Green. Welcome.
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 Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So if you do not already know Pastor Queenie Green, please give her, if you already know her, please give her a shout out. Please let us know how you know her. Just do that in the comments so we will see it. If you do not know her, please follow her. See the banner, the ticker right down at the bottom. You can connect with her at www.theriversoflife.org, theriversoflife.org. Let me just give you a little bit of a background of her. So she is affectionately known as Pastor Queenie, so that is how I will regard her during this conversation. She's a multifaceted woman in business and the body of Christ. A renowned author, domestic and international gospel recording artist, a media personality, and a producer. Well, she's been called and has fully surrendered to the work of the Lord. Her obedience has led to be the founder of various ministries, including Lady Lanterns, Connected Hands, and she's the founder and senior pastor of Rivers of Life in Freehold, New Jersey, as well as Browns Mills, New Jersey. Tonight, we're going to focus on a quote that she has for life, which is reach, embrace, and enjoy. Reach for what God is calling you to do, embrace every opportunity to serve, and enjoy every blessing for your obedience. Pastor Queenie,
Yes,
welcome.
ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to hop right into it. And I really do pray that lots of people, I think I see some comments already. Wonderful. Yay. Excellent. Oh, so we have somebody who is saying that you are their pastor. Thank you, sis, for joining us. Please invite your other community members, your other members of the congregation, so we can have more effective chats today. We're going to hop right into it. Yes, we all know that we've been in a global shutdown. Yes, we all know that we in the body of Christ are trying to still move forward. We're trying to still keep connected with our church family, the people who were standing and peeking in the windows to our church, those people who are sitting in either the actual seats or the virtual seats of our ministries, and those people who were kind of like, maybe I just want to be a part of Bedside Baptist. So ministry leaders have been dealing with this conversation and this topic for a very, very, very long time, even before 2019, 2020, shifting into it. You have actually, let's say, harnessed the power of doing just that. So you were probably way ahead of the game when we got to March of 2020. Tell us what you were doing before that that puts you at the top of the ecosystem, if you will, of hybrid ministry.
Well, since our inception, we have always been a hybrid ministry. We have had in person worship as well as digital footprint. And we've been doing that now for 8 years. So when the pandemic hit, the transition was pretty fairly simple as far as worship services were concerned. Because of my technical background, I was able to just shift and I could run the service by myself from home. And as the weeks progressed, then I was able to teach and coach the team through adding their components in as well, as far as having ministry meetings, children's church, so on and so forth.
Okay, okay. So you said that you have been actually in this, I'll say in this game. It's not a game, but there are lots of rules, and some people have been playing by the rules, and some people are like, oh my gosh, I have to learn a new game. I have to learn some new rules. What made you even start, and how did you build a virtual ministry such that it was easy for you to sustain it?
The Lord told me to do it. So whatever he says to do, I follow. And he said we needed a digital imprint. So I started just right off the iPad, streaming
Okay.
live right off the iPad. And we still stream live off of the iPad today.
Okay. All right. So now those people who are watching, and whether or not you're watching live, like right now, or you're going to catch this on the replay, I need for you to do something. I already know that I have 2 people who are part of my stream team who I already see in the comments. I need my stream team to get even larger. The stream team are those who are sort of technically adept, and they can actually sort of type as we go. We're going to be talking about 6. Somebody type in 6. The 6 P's of a productive and effective virtual ministry. So the 6 P's of a productive and effective virtual ministry. So every time we mention one, drop it in the comments. Those people who don't like to read the comments, y'all gonna have to write it on a piece of paper. If you catch this on the replay, well, that's fine, but it's great to get it live. If there's a question about one of these P's of productive and effective ministry, type it in the comments and we will see it, and then we can extrapolate even more. All right. So let's hop right into it. So Pastor Queenie and I actually had a conversation before this, and in our pre-chat, we were just getting to know one another. And so as we were delving into some of the background, we wound up coming up with, and both of us are, I'll say, like thesaurus buffs. Would you say that?
Yes, I would say that.
Good. And so those of you who are in ministry, you know, sometimes you use an acronym, sometimes you use, just repeated phrases. And so that's what we wound up doing. So that's what we're going to deliver to you tonight. So we found out that there were approximately 6 P's of productive and effective ministry. Let's tackle the first one. Do you want me to mention it?
No, I'll tell it. The first P is purpose. You have to have purpose for doing ministry, whether it's in person or virtual. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, why am I doing this? Write the vision and make it clear. Begin to disseminate what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it. The Lord shifted during the pandemic for us, talking about internal teams and communal groups. So with that, I had to restructure how we did ministry. Even though we've always been a hybrid ministry, the purpose of our ministries began to shift. So I had to have a meeting with our leadership team. I always start my meetings with my leadership team first and say, listen, we're going to be making this transition so that we can be more purposeful in ministry. So we now have what we call internal teams, which is like clergy, ushers, hospitality, leadership. Just think those teams that will be essential to running the church. Then we created external communal groups. And those are groups like My Brother's Arm, Sisters Linked, Connected Youth Impact. So as our purpose shifted, we were able to shift. So we had internal and external teams and groups so that we can really minister to the people effectively and efficiently.
So there's also, when we talked about the purpose of the ministry, we also we sort of broke down some of the internal programming, if you will, that probably already exists in some churches. And then we kind of added on things that, depending on your target market or depending on your community or your neighborhood or who you really draw to, that's drawn by your leadership. So we were talking about like the Bible studies that most church ministries have, Sunday school that most ministries have. But then you mentioned another very specific ministry that not all ministries can really carry because they don't really speak to that.
Okay. Well, I talked about most churches operate in 3 virtual spaces. And you really have to understand what those virtual spaces are. So one is ministry, one is communal, and one is informational. So our ministry component, that's public. This is what we're going to stream out live. Everybody can see it. So that's your worship service. It is your Bible study. It is your prayer call, revivals, any kind of encouragement. That would be public. Then you have communal stuff. In particular, she's talking about all-purpose recovery is one of the essential things that we do. That is a communal group because it is about availing ourselves and making a footprint in the community that is effective to change. So all-purpose recovery, when you're in the communal space, it can be public or private. So all-purpose recovery is private because we want people to be able to have their anonymity. So they're able to dial in and join all-purpose recovery. They're able to connect on Zoom. They can be on camera or off camera. Really doesn't matter. But the point is we want to make sure that they're getting the assistance that they need in that moment. So all-purpose recovery is about walking alongside of people who are having issues, difficult times, recovery, reentry, any facet that you can think of for recovery, because we're all recovering from something.
So one question that I want to add, and thank you so much, Stream Team, for showing up. I appreciate you. Is that just the power of Zoom, and of course we're going to get into that later, but the different ministries that exist within the church walls or the church virtual or live walls don't always require the upfront and personal, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. So I thought it was very eye-opening and awe-inspiring that your ministry or your gifting said that I don't necessarily need to be staring at you for an hour and a half, 2 hours while we're on this platform. But just the fact that the availability that I can dial in if I need to. Maybe I'm just exhausted. Maybe I don't just feel like being stared at. Maybe my face just would not be pleasant to look at because I'm in an awe. I'm in like a wretched spirit at this moment. But just the fact that I can get ministered to by just listening in, and I'm there, and I know you're there, and you're ministering to me, I think that is a beautiful opportunity for more people to sort of peek in without having to be peeked at. Somebody write that down. That came out really well. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go to number 2, platforms.
All right. So after you define what your purpose is, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for ministry? Are you doing it for community? Or maybe you're even doing it for informational purposes. Some informational purposes could be outreach, into life planning, financial planning, lunch and learns, just to give you guys some ideas about that. Then you have to select a platform. Where are you going to do it? So, are you going to do it on Zoom? Are you going to do it on Hopin? Are you going to do it through Facebook groups, Facebook, um, regular Facebook, through Google Duo, Twitch, Facebook, WhatsApp groups? I mean, and the list goes on and on and on. And you want to be sensitive to the platform that you're choosing, because you want to make sure that that personality of that platform that you're selecting is in line with what you want to do. And that's one big thing I think a lot of people miss when it comes to social media, is understanding the social media personalities. Like Facebook is more for blogging, vlogging, doing lives. Instagram is more for reels, short videos. So you want to be clear about that. But I mean, there you can use a texting platform if that's what you so choose to do. The important thing is that we're doing what God has called us to do in Matthew 28, and that is get the word out to the end of the earth. That's what's most important. So those are some of those platforms. And also you need to think about if you're going to stream to a single platform or to multiple channels. And that's going to help determine the products that you need, which is
Right.
our Thursday.
Right. So for those of you who are just coming in, we are speaking to Pastor Queenie. Please check her out right below at www.theriversoflife.org. And we're talking about the 6 P's of effective and productive virtual ministries. So we've just spoken about the purpose of the ministry, the platforms that are available for ministry, and not all platforms are the same. Not all platforms speak to the variety of people that you have in your congregation, nor are they accessible, nor do they even, like this platform that we're on right now, Pastor Queenie and I, we are next to one another. Tiny little thing that some people know, some people don't know. Wouldn't be really productive to do this on Instagram, because one would be on top of the other. If we had more than 2 people, if we had 4 people, then we would be in a quad. It would be 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. But that just came out. So again, not all platforms are equal. Not all platforms are suitable for the variety of ministry opportunities that you want to use. All right, let's go
And
to the
another thing too, speaking about platforms, you have to decide if you want it to be public or private, because that also could determine which platform you're going to use. You may only want to stream through Zoom, so that you can keep the meeting private and intimate and safe, and create a sacred space. Or you may want to do it through Facebook groups. You have a private group and you only want to stream to that private group. So only those people that's inside the group have access to the material. So you have to think about that as well when you're fleshing out your purpose. All right. So our third P is products, talking about products. What do I need to get so that I can get it done? You can use your iPad, you can use your cell phone, you can purchase a camera, a tripod, external microphones, monitors, laptops, mixers, encoders, speakers, headphones, output, all kinds of cables you're going to need, so that everything can get hooked up to run together: splitters, HDMI boxes, HDMI cables, Ethernet cables, because you got to have internet access, got to have you got to be able, and speaking of which, you want to make sure that you're hardwired connected to your internet source. You don't want to run off of Wi-Fi because the connections are not stable, so you want to make sure you're connected in. If you need any kind of connectors to connect into your iPad, sometimes you need to buy some special adapters. I'm just going to show y'all one I have right here with me. This is the RJ45 here.
Mm-hmm.
This here.
Yep. Yep. All
Yeah.
of those are essential if right the deeper that you want to get into this.
Right. So it has multiple inputs here so that this way you can hook it up to the internet here. You can hook up the power source here. And if you need USB, it is here. So this is a RJ45. So this hooks right up into my iPad, and then I'm able to keep a power source to it so it don't die. I'm able to keep a steady internet connection because I have an Ethernet adapter in this RJ45. So this is just one particular component of hardware that you would need. But in addition to hardware, you need software. You need a medium that's going to take what that incoming data, encode it so that it can be transmitted out to the internet. And there you can use apps such as Ecamm, Restream. We're using StreamYard tonight, but Wirecast, OBS, Streamlabs, Daycast, and the list goes on and on and on.
So can I just say I have to interject right now. If
Sure.
you all are not taking like copious notes right here, can I just say that this is a webinar? Like this is a webinar. If there are churches whose doors are still closed and they are not here right now, just like go peep over at them. Just say you need to like really come on over and or just share this, because if you're on my personal platform or you are on YouTube, go find it, go share the link. Because if you're not in WISE, the Lott, Carey, WISE group, this information is very, very vital. So I'm just saying, because we have women right here in the house who are on the software side, who are on the content creation side, and who are on the hardware side. How can you get any better than that? How can you get any better than that? All right. So we have purpose, platform, products. And now we're going to talk about process.
Right. That is creating your plan. Who's going to help you to get the plan done? And what exactly is the plan to get it done? So you need to put a team together. You need to flush out ideas for content. You need to assign the tasks to certain people to get certain things done. You have to decide if you're going to have a camera person, somebody working behind the scenes, just working the camera. If you need to get a separate person to run sound to make sure that the sound is stable and all the levels are correct. If you're going to have moderators, we stream to a multi-platform setup, and we have moderators for each platform, so that this way, whoever is watching from whichever platform they're watching, they still have a unique experience, because the moderators are engaging them. They're asking them if they have prayer requests. They're asking them if they're first-time guests. They're saying hello to them. They're immediately praying for people when they submit their prayer requests, because we don't wait until, the service is over, collect all the prayer requests, and then we come and pray. No, we pray on the spot. So the team has been trained to be able to identify that, do it, so that that person who asked for the prayer request in real time is prayed for in real time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. I am very thankful and blessed that I have been asked to moderate, and I call myself like the hype person in the chat. So I call it's almost like I am I guess like the virtual usher. I'm the virtual usher, right?
It's a virtual usher.
I get people in the door. I vet people. If those of you who do not, if you have a virtual platform and you do not have, quote unquote, you can call them the stream team or the scope squad or the moderator or the usher, what have you. If we, and I'll put myself in this category, we kind of know who's coming in. Thank you, Dr. Clifton. Yes, I'm the hype person. We kind of know who's supposed to come in. So we kind of have an idea of what the email may look like or what the names may look like. If we know that someone's dialing in, like this is a little free tea, okay? We kind of know what the telephone numbers might look like. I will go and I'll sort of, if I see a telephone number and I don't see a name, and it's not that a person has, and I'm speaking fast because you guys can catch this on the replay. If I don't know rather, the telephone number or the name, if someone wants to be anonymous, and that's fine, I will actually send them like a private message and I'll ask a coded question where that person would most likely know the answer. because sometimes there are hackers out there and somebody may actually get the link
All right,
vicariously.
let's be specific. What platform are you speaking of? Because all platforms don't work like that.
You're right. So I'm speaking about like a Zoom platform or something like not a third party. What's the Hop-In, right? Where there's a specific link. So
Right.
you may send it out to your friends, but they may share it with someone who shares it with some. You never know. And I'm saying that because it happened. So I happen to have noticed, wait, that person doesn't belong in here. The
Well,
block.
not that they don't belong. They're
Well,
new. They're new.
no. So I'm actually speaking about, I'll tell it. I have somebody that I know personally, and they are not, nor should they be a part of this particular situation
Oh, you're talking
because of
about
their
private group.
age, because of their age. And I was like, nope, goodbye, not your party. But yes, security is extremely, extremely important. And so, yes.
You're specifically talking about a sacred group. Like our children's church is a sacred group.
Yes, let's talk
We have
about that.
hybrid ministry for our children's church, just like we do our regular worship service. The children go into another room. The teacher sets up the external way for people to be able to dial in, zoom in, however they are doing it that particular Sunday. Whoever is leading the class, because the parents are the teachers for our children's church, and they rotate out. But it's a sacred space. Everybody, that's not an advertised thing. Everybody doesn't have the information to connect because we still have to keep our children safe. Just like all purpose recovery, the phone number is public, but to dial to connect in via Zoom, you have to know somebody to connect in to get in on Zoom because it is a sacred space and there's no requirement for you to come on camera when you're in that space. That's in children's church or in all purpose recovery, or if I'm just having a church meeting, sacred space. We're just glad that you're there. Amen.
Excellent. Yes, and security is important. Thank you so much for putting that up. And we do know that a lot of ministries are, I don't want to say it's a seesaw kind of a conversation, but there are, yes, like we want everybody to come to regular worship service. But yes, if we are going to have something specifically like a children's church or the sacred spaces of like a recovery group or just an intimate, I want to be anonymous, I need to be anonymous, those definitely you need to figure out which platform that you're using and then create that additional layer of protocol that we know to call so everybody is not on the call. I did not plan to say that, but that's how it came.
It's all right. Okay. All right. Another part of the process is you have to set a date, time, and location because every location is not from your home. Sometimes you might want to go in and just stream from the building, even though nobody else is there. In some instances, you may want to do a shoot that's off location. Maybe it's on location at an event. Plan it out. Have a plan. Have a team so everybody can work together. And a budget. And a budget. Let's say that last. And a budget. So that everybody is in place. All of the moving pieces are working and moving together.
Okay, so we have purpose, platform, products, process, and now we're ready for the people. Number 5.
Number 5, people. You have to know who your target audience is. And we touched on that a little bit in our previous conversation. But we have to know, who are we targeting? Who is it that we want to come to this particular event? You know, if it's a bridal shower, it may be just for women. If it's a baby shower, it may be for women and men. If it's for children, we want to make sure we're targeting just children. But if it's open for everybody, then we want to make sure that we have an advertising plan in place so that we can target the people we want to engage in this event. Sometimes that target is just your internal church. It's not everybody. It could just be your internal church. So you have to have some things in place, like creating a marketing plan if you're going to do Facebook ads, if it's open and public to anybody, and everybody can come, because it's going to be a webinar format on Zoom, or if it's going to be a Facebook Live, just general, open to the public, or YouTube. So you could do a Facebook ad, Instagram ad, anything like that. You can do Facebook posts to relevant groups to get them to attend and engage. You can do timeline. You can do your stories. You could do all of that, word of mouth, call them up, text them across the phone. Because we have for us, we have a central communication system. And you can text a keyword, text me to 59769, and that will get you linked into our central communication system. So when text messages go out about events that's going on at the church, you will have access to the information. So you got to know who your target audience is. Am I targeting just the internal church? Am I opening this up a public space for anybody and everybody to come? Because remember, the 3 areas that we're working in is ministry, community, and information. So you're thinking about that when you're developing your strategic plan for the people that you want to show up.
Excellent. Now, I'm going to say this for the record.
Yes.
I thought I spoke fast. Pastor Queenie speaks faster. So if you really want the whole tea, you have got to replay this and take copious notes. I'm going to do the best I can, but take copious notes. I'm telling you, this is like an entire webinar and a training system in an episode. So I'm just saying, it needs to be like a workbook, a little ebook, some sort of a guide. All right. Just put it out there.
I'll put it together after this. I'll put it together.
Put it together. All right. All right. So now we're ready for our 6. So let's just review. We've had the purpose, platform, products, process, people, the internal versus the external. And now, wait a minute.
That's me.
With the people, we were talking about internal people versus external people.
Yes. I spoke about that, whether it was going to be just for the internal church or if it was going to be open to the public.
Got it. Okay. So now we're up to the 6th one. And please, I see a couple of questions and comments. I see more comments, but I just know you're just overwhelmed by all the stuff that's being delivered here today. But please ask some questions. So yes, so now the 6th one, produce it. What does that mean?
Just do it. Don't abort the mission. Because a lot of times we go through the first 5 steps and then we don't show up. And that is just the enemy's way of getting victory over us, that is keeping us from doing effective virtual ministry. So you got to show up and you got to do it. Don't abort the mission. It's so simple.
And if there was nothing else, if there wasn't anything else to say, I would say, please, say it again, because this was a lot. This was a lot. I'm glad that this was one of the more uplifting, because some of our conversations can be wow.
Well,
that's information.
We're used to doing church as the building. We're used to coming into this physical space, and that has been our norm for hundreds of years. But we have to also embrace our current reality. And the reality is everybody has access to the internet. Everybody is constantly on their phones. And if we're not putting out good content, the people are only exposed to negative content. And that's giving the enemy an upper hand. But there's nothing that we can do physically in the building that we can't do virtually. We can have weddings virtually. We can have baby showers, bridal showers, Mary Kay parties, outreach. We can have retreats. We can have summits. We can have webinars. We can have, you can interview people for jobs, virtually. There's nothing that cannot be done virtually. So we need to take full advantage of that. Not only does it free up our time for having to go into the building, a lot of this stuff can be pre-recorded and just played. And you don't have to physically be sitting in the chair, at 7 o'clock we're going live, doing this particular event. You can pre-record it. That information, you get it out to your target market ahead of time. You said, we're going to be recording this, episode 1 of Community Splash Talk, which is our community blog that we do.
Your
We're
podcast.
Nope, podcast is only ears only. Podcasts are ears only.
Okay, so the splash is
videos and blogging. It's like a video blog is a blog.
Okay. Yep.
And that's where you talk about all issues that pertain to anything that's going on in community, society, those things that need to be discussed. So that's what Community Splash Talk does. But if we're going to pre-record it, we're going to make sure people get that information in advance. We're going to use our text messaging system. We're going to use our newsletter through MailChimp to get the word out so that those that want to connect with us on that day or night for the recorded are able to do so and get the information real time and tell them when it's going to be replayed. Because this virtual space is just like a TV studio. And you don't have to have all of the film training, because you don't need grips and stage hands and all of those things to produce at virtually. You don't need all of that. You could do it right from your iPad. You could do it right from your phone, your laptop, your desktop. We covered that. I ain't going to go back into it.
That's all right. So now, one thing that you just said, it has been the virtual thorn in the flesh. And that is, we can do all of it. Everything that we could do in person, we can do, and we had to do virtually.
Right.
But now, like, the pendulum is swinging in the other way, and it's starting to come back. Of course, everyone was shut down, and so everyone had to switch to this virtual platform.
Mm-hmm.
And as it stands, a number of people, according to who you ask in the ministerial seat, they have gotten comfortable. And so we need them to come back to the building. And yes, there are some very established ministries that, for whatever reason, maybe it's the size of their building and the age or the target audience or their constituents, who have not been able to make it back to the building. People have aged out. People are just really nervous. They've lost so many people. So they're very anxious about that. And no matter what the protocols that have been put into place to maintain or to establish, maintain, solidify a safe, a sanitized environment, some people are still like, and now that I feel like I can actually have my virtual spiritual growth, I think I'm okay with that. And so I know that there's a number of ministers who are like, no, I really need you to come back to the building. When you said people can dial in, when you said people can peek in, some people realize that the financial support didn't necessarily dwindle as they thought. For some ministries, it maintained. For some ministries, it actually exceeded, because people found ministry in a different light, no pun intended, and they felt a level of comfortability with it. What I would like to know, and I guess I'm actually already answering the question because you've already had a virtual ministry before you added this other piece. Give a word to parishioners, give a word to ministers about, because people will say, oh, we know that the new normal is that we will have to keep something hybrid. Give a word of encouragement to ministers about, don't say we're going to do this hybrid thing, but really push people back into the church. But how about, we talk about it all the time, expanding. This is the prayer of Jabez, expand my territory. One thing that's great is that now we've gotten people not just from across the aisle, across the city, across the state, across the country. We've now grown the ministries to people who are outside of the borders, people we've never thought we would attract. Can you say a word about that, about like just staying encouraged about that?
Well, the very first thing is this: what are you going to do if no one ever shows up? will you allow the ministry to die? That's the very first question you have to ask yourself. And we have to respect the fact that some people are never going to come back into the sanctuary. But we also have a job to do. And I have been sharing this with my congregation and anybody else that I come in contact with. Everybody needs a faith lift. Everybody does. Because we are exhausted from being at home. And I know that. Some people are yearning for that physical interaction. Some people just have to have it. Embrace those that come in, but also embrace those that choose to stay home and watch online. Don't make them feel bad about it, but make sure that their experience with your virtual touch is impacting them in a way that they still feel connected to God, that they are still growing in His grace, and that they're being affected. Because, see, the church is us, the people, and we are called to serve where we live, where we work, as well as where we worship. And we can't relegate people to say, you're not doing church if you're not physically in the building. Then you're
Say that again.
the wrong way. You have to teach the people how to be the church and how to show up where they live at. They got to be sensitive to their neighbors' needs. They got to be sensitive to what's going on in the community so that they can show up as the church and influence and impact where they live at every single day. We have to have a sensitivity even on our jobs. Some of us are working from home. Some of us are going into the workplace, but you still have some sort of interaction with those other people in the jobs, whether it's on phone, whether it's through the little texting app that most corporations have. Be sensitive. You can tell by a person's text message what their mood is. Come on, we've been texting long enough to know if they're putting it all in caps, they're yelling at you, right? We know that right away.
Right? Stop yelling at me. Why am I yelling? It's all in caps. Cut it out.
Right. Exactly. So, we have to have a sensitivity there so that we can minister to people right in that atmosphere. We have to have a sensitivity even where we worship. Those that come and those that don't come. They require the same grace that was given to us is the same grace we're required to extend to them.
Say that again. So, right. So we will, let's be judicious. Let's be just. Let's be joyful. There should be no shaming. There should be no shaming.
No.
Some people will say, forget not the assembling of yourselves together. I get that.
You're still
But
assembling. You're still assembling. When the pandemic happened, we had sacred spaces just for the church only, for us to come together as a congregation so that we're able to flush out what we're feeling, what we're going through. You have people that live by themselves. They don't have, if they don't pick up the phone and talk to anybody, they're not having any kind of interaction with anybody. I remember when I was working in the workforce, one of my coworkers, he didn't know he had lost his voice till he came to work because he lived by himself. He got to work, he went to say good morning, and he didn't have no voice. So, we have to, create these sacred spaces as well as public spaces so that people have a way to engage. And don't be mad if they don't show up on camera. It's okay. You know that they're there. Sometimes just hearing their voice is enough. Sometimes them being in the presence of what's going on is enough. Because we had conversations, and I mean, those fellowships, that they could last hours. We could be on that fellowship for 2 or 3 hours. I didn't care. However long it took, that's the time I gave it. Because I needed for them to know that they can come into this sacred space, air out whatever it is that's going on with them, whatever their fears are. Because remember, all of us, we were dealing with friends, family members that or even ourselves that were impacted and infected with COVID. And you need an outlet. You need an outlet. So, just I would say just embrace it. If you embrace it, let God do what He's going to do. Because He said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw. And our reach is expanded virtually. Our reach is expanded virtually.
I totally agree. I totally agree. So
Embrace
I had
that component in.
I had a beautiful experience of a community that my church befriended in South Africa. And during this entire period, we were chatting, more often. Oh, how are you over there? They would say on that side. And I would say, we would use that phrase. And they said, oh, I want to invite you to a service that we do. And I said, okay, well, are you on like Zoom, Facebook? He goes, no, it's WhatsApp. And I said, WhatsApp? How do you do that? And I've shared this with a couple of people. It's all through voice notes. So
Right.
there's no live speaking like we're doing now. Like this is live. I'm looking at you. You're looking at me. It's not even free conference call where it's just audio, live audio or podcast ish. It's I give the morning announcements, I save it as a voice note, and then I send it. And then people are listening. And then the next person in the order of service, they do their voice note and they send it. That was mind blowing to me. It was eye opening. And I said, this is how y'all do worship. He was like, yeah, because we couldn't get together. I thought that was so fantastic. I had never heard of it before. And so thank you for the person who, let me go back, who said that digipastors, here we go, job listing, digipastors needed. So listen, I mean, like this is like a course that has definitely been written over the past year and a half, that these e-pastors or virtual, ministers or virtual leaders are just now, of course, like who are technologically savvy, who may or may not have the hardware, but they have the content, they have the patience, they have the interest to make ministry, to make ministry matter
Yes.
in the moment, and it's beautiful.
And be very clear on your purpose for doing virtual ministry, because you can have a virtual ministry event, but that not be a digi pastor is needed for that.
Right.
A digi pastor is needed if you're starting a complete virtual church, which I do have a complete virtual church. That virtual church was supposed to be birthed into a physical location prior to the pandemic, but it didn't happen because of the pandemic. But we continued on building that virtual church, which is Restoration Life, which will be birthed in God's timing. And that'll be the second location, and I'm already working on the third. So be clear about what you're doing, because you don't need an actual digi pastor to do Bible study. You don't need a digi pastor to do children's church. You don't. It's not. I don't think personally that is needed. But if you create the team, and everybody knows what their task or their assignment is, and they show up and do it, you won't have a problem. And for us, we're back in the building now, and everybody isn't coming. But even if the moderators come and they're in the building, they're still moderating. They're still moderating. They're still doing what they've been assigned to do. Just because we're physically in the building doesn't mean the assignment goes away.
So does that mean, let me just ask a specific technical question. Does that mean your moderator, and those people who go to my church, y'all know I do this anyway. So I'll be sitting in church and I'm taking notes. I'm actually taking notes on what, this is even before we shut down. I would take notes on what the minister was saying, and then I would actually post them to Facebook. And some people, this was about 6 or 7 years ago. Some people are like, well, Toriel, that's kind of annoying. Like, why would you be doing that? And I said, do you realize how many people, because of life, had to shift from the location that we're in? Like either they were ill or they had relocated, but they still want to be a part of what we do. So in real time, I provided them. Now I know it's a moderator. I was kind of moderating the conversation or what was happening. And now I'm like, well, now it's a big deal. That's fine. But do your moderators sit in the building and they have a device where they are engaging? Like, how does that look? How does that look for your ministry?
They're on their cell phones just like you are reading your Bible. They're right on the cell phone. They're putting in, telling people ways to give. They're asking for prayer requests. They're putting in the scriptures. They're letting the people know where we're at in the text. They do all of that.
Lovely.
They do all of that.
Lovely. Excellent. That's right. Don't shame people who are actually trying to help the minister out.
No, no, no.
Thank you so much. So I did the best I could to put up as many posts, and I have a feeling I missed a couple because I was working on the Facebook group and YouTube. But those people who are in the public Facebook group, we will get to respond to your messages and your questions at the end of this broadcast. We are so thankful and for those people who gave out virtual ministries, and we did the 6 P's. Let me just sort of recap. We talked about the purpose for a virtual ministry, the platforms that you can use, products that would need to be engaged in the development of the ministry, like the hardware / the software, the process, the people, and last but not least, produce it. Just do it.
Amen.
We have been blessed with Pastor Queenie Green of the riversoflife.org. Again, please follow her, connect with the ministry. You'll see it down below at the riversoflife.org. And if there's any additional pieces of information, again, drop us a comment, drop us a question. You can communicate with her. We look forward to seeing all of you. I'll just give a little commercial. I have my Jumping for Justice t-shirt on, right? Double Dutch Revival. So that's 5/14/22, 5/14/22, 5/14/22. I'm going to try to post this on all platforms in the next few days. That will be happening. It is our Dutch Revival. It is for our Jumping for Justice event. We want to make sure that we eradicate, to the best of our ability, gender-based violence against women and girls across the world. And this is our effort to do that. And so please go to the Lott Carey website. You can go to Lott Carey Wise in order to get information about how you can support, get a t-shirt, make a donation, come to the event in New Jersey. We also want to I'm going to say this as fast as possible. We also want to let people know that our annual session is coming up. We're looking forward to that. We will be meeting in New Orleans. I will be there. I hope you will be. It will be a hybrid event, but we want to see as many faces in the physical place because we've seen a lot of you in the virtual space. But we'd love to see you all out again. Please keep in mind, yes, thank you very much, my stream team here. So let me put that up. So once again, we meet here the first Thursday of every month, and we hope to see you next time. Pastor Queenie Green, do you want to say a final farewell before we head out?
Farewell. No, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it. I pray that I've said something that has blessed, encouraged, or been informational so that you can take it back and begin to use it in your digital ministry going forward. If you need anything, I'm here. Hit a girl up. I'm here. I'm out here.
So peace and blessings. This has been an amazing conversation, an uplifting conversation. And to all those during this coming weekend who have any love for their mother, a sister, a niece, anyone who is loved on some children and can call themselves mother, godmother, grandmother, auntie, village mother, we all want to say Happy Mother's Day to you all.
Happy Mother's Day.
That was not part of the script. I just had to say that. And so, yes, last but not least, we appreciate you, Pastor Queenie. We appreciate you, Pastor Queenie. So we look forward to seeing all of you again in the next couple of weeks at the variety of events. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you all next time.